Hello, my name is Lon Kuntz. I'll be your host for this program, focusing on ASL Poetry. This sign means poetry. Traditionally, when speaking of poetry, we use this sign. It refers to poetic work in spoken language, where words are grouped together using rhyme and rhythm or meter to create a work of beautiful sound. The traditional sign for poetry relates to the sign for music, which means putting together different elements to create beautiful sounds. ASL poetry, using this emerging sign, does not relate to the grouping of sounds with rhyme and rhythm, but refers instead to the poetics of visual language. We see how elements combine to create expressions of beauty. The traditional sign does not capture the spirit of our poetry as well as this more current sign. When people use a new sign, it soon becomes standard. So for the remainder of this program, I'll use the new sign. In this program, I'll introduce 21 different poetic works by Clayton Valli. He selected specially the work you will see here. 15 different people studied Clayton's work. They will each be giving their renditions of his poems. In recent years, we've witnessed an exciting surge in interest in the creation of ASL poetry. ASL has existed as a language for a long time. ASL poetry, however, is a more recent development. One reason for this new interest is the historic suppression of ASL. Deaf people didn't realize the importance and uniqueness of their language. However, the emancipation of ASL has inspired pride in the language. It has fostered an atmosphere in which creativity, playfulness, and experimentation in the use of language have culminated in ASL poetry. I hope that this program will serve to introduce you to the world of ASL poetry. ASL poetry does not follow a set of standard ASL rules. There are many combinations of patterns and rhythms possible in the creation of poetry in ASL. You will see how each work makes use of the repetition of hand shape, movement path, either rotationally or to the front or sides. Also, non-manual signals in various recurring patterns. Palm orientation, with the hands facing in or out, or switching back and forth, all bring the work together. Other aspects include how the signing space is utilized, the location and the pattern of the use of the hands, for example, using one hand, two hands, or alternating between one hand and two hands. These are only a few examples of the rich array of possible features and patterns that an ASL poet has at his or her disposal in creating a work of art. As I explained, this program features 21 different works by Clayton Valli. Clayton has an extensive collection of poems. These representative pieces have been selected by the author to illustrate the different patterns and features of ASL poetry and to broaden your understanding of the subject. This program is composed of two sections. In the first section, I'll make a brief comment to introduce each of the poems and highlight their salient features, touching on rhyme, movement, and other aspects. For some poems, I'll add background information to help you read the otherwise ambiguous work. In the latter section, each poem is analyzed in a more graphic way. Here again, only the salient features and/or patterns are analyzed. However, I will go into detail on those features. They will help you better interpret, understand, and enjoy each poem. While we've provided this section to give you greater detail and explanation, I hope you'll try to analyze and understand each poem as much as possible before looking for further illustration. When you've derived as much meaning as possible from each poem, then go ahead to the second section. The explanations may give you an even greater appreciation. Then you can watch the poem again for maximum comprehension. The second section doesn't have all the answers and complete explanations, but it provides enough to encourage you to delve into the work yourself to find the meaning. The poems in this program are categorized and arranged on the basis of the kind of pattern they follow and according to their level of complexity. For example, the first 6 poems focus on different hand-shape patterns. The second group is related to movement. I hope that as you read each poem, you'll keep in mind 2 things. First, the purpose of this program is not to present the poems from a critical perspective, but to raise the understanding and appreciation of ASL poetry to a new level. Perhaps then others will be inspired to create their own poems. Second, the first time that you watch each poem, the meaning will not be perfectly clear. Reading ASL poems is much like reading English poems. They're not always readily understood at first reading. You need to read again and again to take the fullest meaning from the work. So too with ASL poetry, you'll need to watch several times before you get it. Each viewing will afford more understanding. Enjoy discovering different things about the poetry.